I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm filming this afterwards. I'm just gonna be honest because I probably haven't done it in the right frame and you're gonna be able to tell anyway. But I just put up the footage from my Q&A and it is so long, I think it's gonna have to be in 2 parts. So I think what I'm filming right now is like a welcome back to part 2. Who knows? Can you tell I'm a novice? But yeah, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for coming and watching this video. This is a little Q&A. I just asked on Instagram for some questions that people wanted to ask. I just figured I've been doing YouTube for most of this year now and I haven't really ever kind of sat down and properly introduced myself. I thought it would just be nice to do a little Q&A, a little kind of get to know you style video thing. So yeah, here's part 2. Coloured in hazel. What is something you wish you'd known or been told the first time you were pregnant? In terms of labour, I find it hard now as someone that's gone through labour. I do appreciate why people don't, people feel like they haven't been told enough, but it's very hard now, I realise, as someone that's been through labour, to tell people because every person's story is different. So I've obviously, like I said before, I'll link it below, I've filmed a whole video about my whole labour. I've included as much information as I could possibly remember and think to include, but that's just my story. And so if someone just hears my story and then has a labour where something happens with a cesarean or something, they might feel like, oh, why did no one tell me about this? But you might just have not spoken to someone who went through that thing. It's hard to go into labour feeling like you've been told everything because it's endless what you could be told. But one thing that I found for me that happened, and I wish I'd been told, is more the healing after birth. A lot of things I was quite surprised about that I wasn't expecting with healing. I don't think I'm gonna go into now because this is just a general Q&A and I don't want to get all birthy on everyone that's watching this. So maybe I should film another video just all about post-birth healing. If you'd like that, maybe comment below because that's something I could definitely do. Because then I can be really honest because you know that if you're watching it, that's what you're gonna see. But yeah, I just feel like a lot of stories about people's labours stop at the birth and then the kind of next few weeks you don't hear much about, and there were quite a few bits where just things that I wasn't expecting. And then in terms of just being a mum, the things I wish I'd been told in my first pregnancy, just to really, really trust your own instincts. When they let you leave the hospital, you cannot believe that they're letting you leave the hospital with the baby. Me and Henry were looking around like, how are people letting us leave? We shouldn't be allowed to take this human home. We have no idea what we're doing. One thing I wish I'd known is just to really remember, and I will now have this with the second one, is that whatever stage you're in, it's just a stage. Nothing lasts forever. When you're up in the night and you've been up every hour and he's not settling and you've tried to put him in the sling and then you've tried him over your shoulder and then you've gone into the living room and started watching Kardashians because it's 3 AM and you're really depressed that you're not asleep, and then you've had an argument with your husband and you've told him that he has to take the baby, then the baby's sick, then you need to breastfeed him again. When it's one of those nights, it can feel like it's going to last forever, and then the morning comes and you're okay again and you have some tea and some toast and life carries on. So in those dark nights, just kind of remembering that it's not going to last forever. And then within the seasons, when you're maybe going through a season of that every night they're not sleeping well, if they're in a little stage where their naps in the day are just really random and are only lasting 20 minutes and you're just kind of tearing your hair out because you can't get anything done in those 20 minutes. Just remembering with each stage that it won't last forever, that they'll, just when you think they're never going to sleep again, they have a 3-hour nap and all is well with the world. And then same with the positive side, when they're napping really well or they're in a really sweet stage where they're just gurgling all the time and really happy, remembering that that stage won't last forever, and so just to soak it up, make the most of it, take those videos and just to enjoy it. But yeah, that's, I think, something I wish I'd known, that it won't last forever. You can get really bogged down in the moment and think that this is just your life now and this is your baby and you're never going to sleep or you're going to be pooed on forever, and actually it's over like that and you wish you could go back. Mary Kath Powers, have you lived in Brighton your whole life and where did you learn your photography skills? Your posts are always such great captures of your life and Jet. Oh, thanks Mary. No, haven't lived in Brighton my whole life. We moved to Brighton 2 years ago when we were just pregnant with Jet. And before then we were living in London for 8 years, 7 years. I think we were living in London 7 years before then. And then before then I grew up in a few different towns just outside of London. And then yeah, lived in London with Henry for 7 years, then we moved to Brighton for 2 years. Photography, no, I haven't learnt I haven't done any photography lessons. If you look at actual photographers, you'll realise that I have no clue what I'm doing. I think for me, the main tips are bright, keep it really light. If I never take a photo if the room is too dark or it's too shadowed. For me, I don't like that look. So I often just try and think about whiteness. So all my floors are painted white, so that's quite nice and easy. Although all my walls are dark, which is annoying. Once you've taken the photo and then you're editing on Instagram, I just always bring up the exposure just so that it's really nice and bright. And then also I remember hearing one rule, that's like a rule of photography, that you basically have to imagine your image in thirds, so split into 9. So if it's an image, actually, do you know what? I was at a seminar the other day and they talked about it. This is an awful drawing. But you see here, so you have to imagine that your image is in like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then whatever is the kind of main object in the image, it should never be in the center. I don't know why, but it's just a rule that works and it just looks better. It looks more kind of visually pleasing, I find. Other than that, I just point and click and hope for the best. Felicity Hanwell, also your home looks gorgeous inside. I'm wondering if you'd venture into sharing ideas, any work you've done to make it look, and then she's done that emoji. Thanks, Felicity. Pinterest, I have a lot of Pinterest boards. Stealing other people's ideas, I steal a lot of other people's ideas. My old boss, I just am obsessed with her style. I love everything they had in their house. I just loved, and I remember often like kind of clocking what she had. And so this big lamp we've got, they had, these sofas they had, and I've just like shamelessly copied her. So I wouldn't say I necessarily have my particularly great own personal style. Like I don't feel like I'm someone that has that eye. So if I like something that someone else has, I just copy it. I'm just really shameless. Lara Joanna Jarvis, what would your dream job be? My dream job growing up was to act. I went to performing arts school and then obviously onto drama school, and that's always been my dream. And I guess I am doing my dream job. I haven't kind of achieved the things that I've ticked off some of the things that I want to achieve within acting, but obviously there's still so many more things I'd like to achieve. But yeah, so that would be my dream job, and that is my job, which is nice. Megan Magpie, what are your top tips for someone thinking of starting vlogging, blogging, using social media as a platform? My friend is starting and asked if I knew anyone successful in that area. Your friend or you? Again, I think similar to the question Musings of a Twin Mum asked, I think my tips on starting blogging or vlogging is just simply to start. You just need to start. Like, there's no other, you can think about it and you can talk about it and you can have ideas about it, but the only way you'll start is if you just start. So blogging, just start writing. And actually my blog started really randomly. I never intended on starting a blog. Actually, I have always particularly thought of myself as not a writer. I don't think of myself as good with words. My sister Sarah is incredible with words, and so I think when you know someone's good at something, you can then think that means you're not good. So I see her and think, oh, she's amazing with words, and so then I think, oh, I'm not good with words. You're allowed to have more than one person in the world that's good at something. Yes, I never thought of myself as good at words. I remember when Jet was just before he turned a year or something, I couldn't sleep one night, and I was just thinking about all the things that had been going through my mind that year, just all the kind of new thoughts I'd had since being a mum, and about all the cliches that you hear that then come true. And I just couldn't sleep, and I was like, I need to get these words just out of my head so that I can get some sleep. And so I just got my iPad and just wrote, kind of just, you know, it's like just comes out like free writing, just blah blah, you're like almost like sick onto your iPad. That's weird. And then just went to sleep and almost forgot I'd done it, and woke up and couldn't remember if it was a dream, and then looked at my iPad and read it. Thought, oh, that's actually quite interesting, and I've said some interesting things that I feel like other mums would maybe agree with, and maybe I should just put this somewhere. It feels weird just to sit on my iPad. So I just quickly made a WordPress website, popped it up, and that was my first blog. I guess main rule is just write about what interests you, and then it comes really naturally. So I think as well, I never felt I was a good writer because my only writing experience was at school. I remember like I had to write an essay in English about traffic cameras. It's like, well, no one's going to enjoy writing if they're writing about traffic cameras. Whereas then once I had Jet, and he's evoked all these emotions in me and got me thinking about myself as a person and as a mum, and just all these questions that he's brought up, I think I just can't help but write, because I just need to have an outlet to put it somewhere. So I think just think about the things that interest you, think about the things that get you passionate or anger you, and just write about them and then put them up. And also, worst case, no one goes on your blog and no one reads it, but no one needs to know that. When I put it up, I had no idea who would read it, if anyone would actually bother reading it. And then same with vlogging, like I was saying before, just pick up your camera and start filming, and don't worry about what people might think. Give it a try. Oh, I don't know how to say this name, I'm so sorry. DRLMEBH. Dr. L. Meba? I'm so sorry if this is you. You have a great Instagram name, I just can't say it. What's the best book on parenting you've ever read? I've never read a book on parenting. The closest I've come is the Hypnobirthing book, which is about birth, and then Giovanna Fletcher's book, Happy Mum, Happy Baby, which is just kind of a biography. But I've never read any books on parenting. I'm so sorry. Fuggle Antics. Do you have a time to read books at the moment? And if so, what's your current? I kind of have time and I kind of don't have time. Same, I'm sure every mum finds. I think we've just recently been on holiday last week, so I had a lot of time then to read because Jet wasn't with us, we went without him. Shock horror. I did a vlog about it, it's below. I don't have much time, but we sometimes, if we're not absolutely exhausted, I'll read for a few minutes in bed in the evening, or if Jet's napping and I don't want to work, I'll maybe read for a bit, but yeah, I don't have much time to read. At the moment, I'm reading Fates and Fables by, is that what it's called? Fates and Furies. I can't remember who by. I'm enjoying it, I'm not loving it, which is also annoying when you don't have much time to read. It's annoying if you then read one that you don't love because you feel like you're kind of wasting your time. And then before that, I read Small Great Things by Jodie Picoult, which I would definitely recommend. I loved it. I read that when we were at my parents' the weekend, and made my parents play with him the whole time, and then read the whole book in the weekend, and it was so good. It's basically just all about racism and prejudice told in a very clever story within a court case. Last question, Naomi Francis, 26. How did you and Henry meet? What's your story? Man, again, I feel like this needs a whole video to itself. Oh, it's so hard to know like when to start and where not to start. So we initially met when I was 18 and he was 20. No, he was 19, I can't remember. And he had a girlfriend and I just fancied him, didn't know he had a girlfriend, and then added him on Facebook, as you do back then. Then realised he had a girlfriend and was like, oh, shame. And then I went to Camp America and did some travelling, just didn't think about it, and then came home, and then we re-met a year later when I was 19. He was just turning 21, because I remember because I went to his party, and I bought him this like really weird wind-up toy. I don't know what I was thinking. He was single by that point, or winner. We basically had some mutual friends. I was like, boys are rubbish, he's blatantly not going to do anything, he probably doesn't even know who I am. He was actually quite good friends with my older sister. While I'd been away, they'd become like kind of friends. I basically just said to this couple who we both knew, can you set us up on a date? It's supposed to be like a subtle setup, but actually that I am orchestrating. So they organised for us to all go to the cinema. The couple, me and Henry, and then one of my best friends, Katie, who's Jet's godmother. So it was the 5 of us, and we went to the cinema to see Marley and Me. And it was a really weird one actually, because Henry had been back at home in Basingstoke interviewing for a job, I think, for like a summer job while he was at university. And he was running really late, and then the film got delayed by 45 minutes. So we were already all sat in our seats. And then he arrived, and then we just all sat in the cinema for another 45 minutes just waiting for the film to start. So me and Henry had time to chat, and we just got on like a house on fire and just chatted the whole time, chatted all the way through the film, annoyed everyone in the cinema. we thought the film was rubbish because we weren't concentrating enough, so we were just laughing and chatting. We were like, what is this film? We then watched it when I was in labour with Jet and both sobbed and realised what a good film it actually is. But yeah, so hit it off then. We're kind of friends for a bit, dated, you know, kind of informally, whatever, for a bit. And then, my blooming battery died. Every single video I do, the battery dies or the card gets full. And I never learn. Yes, then we dated for a bit and then became like official. And then we were together a couple of years and then got engaged and got married. The rest is history. That's all the questions. Lots of love. Peace out.